us leading a small group for the first time in 2015, that was huge. Like that was the pinnacle of life, and I could never imagine like that was kind of the end all be all. But you see God, like we talked about, ankle deep and then knee deep, and then I ended up going. We both actually graduated from pastoral care school, and I started teaching there. And I thought maybe this might be what I do for the rest of my life. This is amazing that. Where God's brought us to. And then he was like, no, just preparing you for the next season. And then all of a sudden you look back, and in 2026, we're like basically non-resident missionaries. We're leading teams over there. And I'm like, we went from ankle deep to way over our heads,
Yeah.
But what I'll say about that is that if you had told me at ankle deep that I would have been in over my head, it would have been very paralyzing. But I look back now and see how gracious God was to teach us and to grow us and to build our confidence. And then now we're truly in way over our heads. But saying that, it's the best place to be.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 30 of the Age of Lions podcast. We are so glad that you're here today. We have an amazing episode for you. As you heard there at the top of the broadcast, we have special guests Joel and Niki Murphy, and I'm so excited for you to hear from them. They are friends of ours at our church, and we go to the same campus together, and we've actually done a trip with kind of in parallel with their ministry, and you're gonna hear all about that in the show. But they have done a great thing in stepping out and following God to start a thing called Revive Ireland. It's a mission that they've jumped into, and it's growing like crazy. And I want you to hear about that, and you might want to get involved with that, and that's awesome. But more than that, I really want you to hear their story of the journey they've been on, of how God has gotten them to where they are. And because a lot of times I think you might have an idea, you're in that 50s, 60s, 70s mode, and you're like, okay, I've got some resources, I've got time, I might even have an idea God's given me. I don't know how to start, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to get into this. And their story is a perfect example of how you just need to take that one next step. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to know how it's all going to end. You just need to know that hey, God's calling me to do this one thing. I'm just going to step out and do the next thing and see where he takes me. And when you hear their story about how God has met them in that and brought resources to bear on it, put people around them, made it all happen, made it grow, it is an unbelievable story. And I think you're really going to be encouraged, inspired, and challenged by it. And I think it's a perfect example of what this whole thing is about. So get ready for that. Hey, before we jump into the actual interview, just want to remind you to like, subscribe, and follow on whatever channel you're using to consume this. If you're listening on one of the podcast channels, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to chime in, comment, let us know. And also you can go to ageoflions.com and learn more about the podcast, all the background around it, things that were coming up in the future. And most importantly, when you go there, click the button and get in our community. Join up, give us your basic information so we can be in contact with you, let you know what's going on, and keep you in the loop. And it's a great thing. And so make sure you do that. Hey, one more announcement before we get into this. A lot of you have been kind of tracking with this as I've been talking over the last several months about my grandson coming. He is here. He was born on January the 31st on Saturday, early in the morning at 2:30. It was a long day and night leading up to that. And he's doing great. His name is Luke. And so be praying for him. He was born a few weeks early. He's perfectly fine, but is in NICU for a couple more days as they're just doing some basic stuff to help him get ready to kind of be in the world on his own. And so be praying for Luke and his mom and dad, Ashley and Marcus. Marcus is my son. And they're all doing great, and he looks amazing and is doing so good. So I'm excited to just let you guys know he's here and ask you to be praying for him and the next few weeks of his life as he continues to grow and just do great. So thank you for that. All right, well, let's get into our great interview with Joel and Niki Murphy. Hey Murphys, how are you guys today?
Good.
Doing well. How about you?
Doing great. It's so good to see you guys. I'm so excited this worked out to get together. And the reason I wanted you guys on here is you really, to me, are kind of the model of what we're talking about on this podcast as far as being at a certain stage of life, having options, having resources, having a calling, and saying, hey, we're gonna reinvent ourselves. We're gonna think about something new. We're gonna step out of our comfort zone. And you guys are really the model of that. And so I'm excited to have you on here just to talk to people about how that happened for you, what that decision looked like, what it's been like to work through the transition of everything. So y'all feel up to it?
Absolutely. And I don't know if it's necessarily a reinvention, if it's really stepping into what God really had for us in the first place, right?
Well, on that note, why don't you just tell everybody briefly kind of what it is, who you guys are and what you do, and let's give them some context to kind of start everything off.
Oh, yes. Well, you want to go ahead and lead that as far as who we are and what we do?
So I'm Nikki Murphy, my wonderful husband, Joel. We've been married for 20 years this year, and we have one adult son, and we'll probably talk more a little about that later, and a 4-year-old, almost 5-year-old grandson. So, but yeah, this is really, I mean, it's been a journey, but here we are 20 years into marriage, and like he said, maybe not a new calling, maybe it's been in us all along, but 2017, God put this dream in our, not just in my mind, but also in our hearts, to go into global missions.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that a large portion of this, what God's been doing, has really been more of a training ground. Of course, we know that about life in general. When you're following the Lord, once you actually start following the Lord, a lot of us have had relationships with the Lord. Some of us have walked away, and some of us have come back. Just in general, as people, that once you actually start following Him, and you followed Him for a while, then you can kind of look back and see His hand in your life and where He's trying to direct you and direct you into that purpose that He had for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we'll kind of get into the nuts and bolts of Revive Ireland in a second, but we love to kick everything off with all of our interviews. We're just asking people, because we're all kind of in a similar age, similar stage of life, that kind of thing. And the question that we like to ask everybody is, at what point did you sort of have that aha moment, that realization of, I'm not as young as I like to think I am. I'm not old. I'm not falling apart, but I can tell. I mean, I am the age that I am. I am kind of getting up in the years a little bit, and things are a little different. Like, what was that moment for you guys?
I think it's the first time you get out of bed, and you go, oh my gosh. And then later in the day, somebody says, what did you do to yourself? And I got out of bed, or I got in the shower and turned my head a certain way. And of course, I mean, even different from that, you have even recovery time. We're talking about some physical stuff here, but then when you're focused, like, hey, I really need to start thinking about retirement. Those are some of the thoughts that I think are common, and I've had some of those myself. And making sure that everything is positioned for life. It's when those thoughts start coming in that you go, wait a minute. Like, I think it started for me around 46, 47, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, probably the same thing. It's about around the same time, but I think my big realization was the moment I saw my grandson, which we were young grandparents. I was 45, he was 47, I believe. But it was one of those things you're like, wow, we're really at this different stage of life, whether we like it or not. Here we are. So
the grandson side has been amazing. So I think you have something yourself coming out now, and just living that grandparent life has been great. Shake them up and give them back.
Sort of.
Yeah, we're right on the front side of just the first week, really. So, but I'm so excited for him to get to be to a place that we can, be with him a lot and keep him, and all the stuff that's coming. But there are definitely those markers in our lives, whether it's physical or stage of life, things like grandparenting or whatever. And younger people, they just don't. When they hear us say things about the aches and pains, and we had an episode early on with my brothers that was kind of funny. We were just talking about some of that stuff that makes people seem old. And that's definitely one of the things when people are talking about their ailments all the time, outside of this context, of course. But it's a real thing when you wake up and you're just like, what did I do in my sleep to hurt my knee or hurt my neck or hurt my back? Or it's a bizarre, and it's almost overnight. It's like, it's not a thing. And then it just is, like, it just happens. And it's really hard to explain to people.
And I have a message for those kids that we all heard it too growing up. Oh, just wait.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. It is just a matter of time. There's nobody gets away from it. That is for sure. How would you, what would you say the biggest difference is between now and say 10 or 15 years ago, and just how you feel or how you approach life, different priorities, different focus, and obviously for you guys that includes going from, probably having someone at home to empty nest, and then now grandparenting, and then different stage of life with jobs and so forth. Like, how do you kind of operate day to day that's different than you used to?
I think intentionality is going to be key. Whereas, earlier in your life, you think you've got all this time, when you hit 50 and people say, oh, you're in the second 50 years of your life, my message to the younger generation is typically, like, hey, do it now, do it now, do it now. You don't have as much time as you think. So it's that being intentional, making sure you save time and whatnot. But what about you?
Yeah, I mean, well, our thing is where most people are in the empty nester stage. We had that, but it was only for a very short period of time. And then our son came back home and brought reinforcements. So
twice.
he is a single father with full custody now. I mean, has been for about a year and a half. But even before that, him and his wife, and they lived with us for a period of time. But when they left the last time and then they came back as a single parent, so we've kind of stepped into a different season of life now where we're actually back to kind of parenting to some degree. Because when you have a son that's a full-time father, a full-time employee, and he's going to school, we've kind of stepped back into that parental role, especially me, who's kind of the mom, and, getting just the basics, getting to school, getting fed, things like that when his dad's working. So that's been a challenge, especially over the last year. But I feel like we probably did a lot wrong last year and we kind of learned from it. And so that was some of the things in 2026 that when we went away and kind of talked about what we want 2026 to look like. And then, of course, me talking with the Lord, I was like, I have to make better choices for myself, which makes me a better mom, mother, leader, wife. And that was getting back to some priorities to take care of myself spiritually, physically, emotionally. So at the beginning of the year, I was like, I have to get up and read my Bible every morning. I need to get up and go to the gym. I need to make some better choices with my diet, those kind of things. And then just having some strict boundaries, even because I work, with a nonprofit, you work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You can. Yeah. And so trying to be very intentional about putting some time away just for myself, whether that's going to have lunch with a friend, have coffee, just taking some time to just be able to listen to a podcast or read a book or something, just to be able to have that, to be able to decompress is. So that I implemented that in 2026, and so far I'm in February and we're still doing it. So I want to make that a forever thing, So
yeah, and we had a conversation about the empty nester thing. We don't believe it exists. You just have it. You just have them in phases, right? And you love your kids and you love your grandchildren, but you do want them to go and go forth and prosper, right? We want that very much for them. But a lot of times, this has to be our time together as a couple as well. Spiritual priority here, God first, your spouse second, everybody else is third. Now, we all know that shifts around, but that should be your goal. And, we try to still date each other, and because we don't want to get to the end of this and go, who are you? Yeah. Anything like that. And I'm in a little different spot. So, I help run the nonprofit, but I also have a full-time job with Zoom right now as a solutions engineer. And that is, I'm switched on, full bore from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. In troubleshooting mode and sales engineer mode the whole time. So coming out and being able to assist her, whether it's with the nonprofit, whether it's with our grandson or something that our son has going on, it's been a lot. So we really have to safeguard that time.
Yeah. This has to be a priority that we try to do once a week, but if nothing else, once every other week, is just spend some time away from them and just the two of us to be able to actually have some downtime and be able to communicate with not a 4-year-old, tugging on you. So,
and luckily we still like each other.
Yeah. Well, we've tried it. That's one of the things I think if we've not done anything well, I think one of the things that we've done well is that we have, in 20 years of marriage, while we've never done it perfectly, we have always tried to make time for the two of us important. We are best friends. So that definitely makes a huge help. But just being able to get away and have downtime and spend time laughing and eating together, and, just that, it doesn't have to be, we're talking about business. Sometimes we do, but for the most part, it's just being able to enjoy each other's company without the stressors of life. So we hope we can do that until we can't do it anymore. So
we put some boundaries around that too. Yeah. Right. It's like over the break, that's our anniversary as well. New Year's Eve is. So when we go out of town, like we'll do Christmas early, do some things with the family and whatnot, and then we're gone. Mm-hmm. And that's because, and we had a friend go, wait a minute, why are you going to Austin? You don't know anybody out there. And we go, it's because we don't know anybody out there. So we can literally unplug and spend that time together. There's a little bit of vision conversation for the next year and things like that. Yeah. But really, it's really just trying to spend time together and recharge. So it's super important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's going to be the two of you. I mean, that's inevitable. That's coming. And I think a lot of people make the mistake of putting work above family or putting the kids above the marriage. And, it's not that those things aren't important. Obviously, the kids are hugely important. But one of the best lessons I think I ever learned early on was, your kids are watching your relationship. They're watching how you, dad, treat mom and mom treat dad and how it all works. And mm-hmm. like the stability or even the boundary of, like you said, putting that boundary in place that says, hey, not right now because this is my time with your mom or vice versa. Like it's not that you're telling them no and they're devastated. It's that that sends a message to them about what matters and what's important. And especially as they get older, even if they can't articulate it, they innately know that there's something strong and powerful and reassuring, I think, to them about that. So it's definitely a challenge for sure. And you guys talked about the busyness too. I mean, I think the thing that we have found is there's so much inconsistency of schedule. We just don't have we have some routines, but there's just every week is really very different than the week before between travel, because we both travel from time to time with work, with school schedules, with the one that we still have at home and all his activities, they change week to week, events, at her job that she hosts. Like it's a constant changing. And so we don't have we have to fight, I think is what I'm trying to say. We have to fight for that time. We don't have a guaranteed set thing every day. Some weeks we get that, but most of the time it's a little bit different from day to day. So I think what you're saying is really powerful, and people need to. We were not really planning on talking about marriage today, but it's a big piece of it for sure. And it's just real talk. I mean, that's just a reality that a lot of people are facing. And I don't think we're special in that way in the sense of busyness or schedule. I think it's probably everybody feels that to some degree. And we've had a lot of kids in the house over the years. We have 8 kids between us, and now we only have one at home. And even with that, I don't know how anybody does more than one kid at a time. Like there's so much to do and so many places for him to be and activity, and it's great. It's super fun. I don't know how we ever did it. I don't know how we did it before, but anyway, it is a real thing. Well, hey, let's talk about Revive Ireland, because, one of the reasons I wanted you guys to come on here was you have really done this. You've had this kind of big pivot over the last few years where you've gone from not being fully involved with missions to not only are you actively in it all the time, but you actually have your own organization and you have vision and you're growing. And so I'd love for you to just tell people what Revive Ireland is, how it kind of came about. Just give us a little bit of a history and what you guys are all about.
Well, I mean, good news is, and something that happened recently after the end of the year, is we've launched Revive Global, which gives us the opportunity to start things like Revive UK and Revive Germany, is because the model for this is empowering pastors, which strengthens churches and transforms lives. And the last two are a product of the first. If it empowers the pastors, the other two are going to succeed as well. And because we need our pastors to stay in the game, and the game over in Europe is far different than it is over here. But as Europe goes, a lot of times, so does the U.S. So what we feel like what we're doing there is very important. And how it started with Ireland, because that is our heritage through blood and through marriage as well. Just a love for those people, and just seeing how great they are. They have a huge redemptive calling on them as a nation. They have such a huge heritage as Celtic Christians that we're hoping to help them re-embrace as part of that, but also keeping those individuals, those pastors in the game, because they have a lot against them in there, and not without talking about things like the Islamification that's going on over there. But that's just one tiny bit of it. But as far as how I got started.
Yeah, so it's kind of my fault. I always say that God, when he talks to me, if he really needs to tell me something, he talks to me when I'm asleep, because it's the only time I'm still and quiet. So
that's when he can get a word in edgewise.
Yeah, exactly. So in 2017, long story short, he gave me 3 dreams. And they were all of me having a baby, which I was way past that time of my life. So it was like, Lord, as I was kind of dissecting these dreams, I was like, we knew he was birthing something in us and knew, but really had no idea, because they were very just generic dreams. I knew it had something to do with the church, because one of my baby dreams, I actually adopted a child from a church. So, but just didn't know what that looked like. So we just really just started kind of pressing on doors and to see what, would open. And one of the things that had been on our hearts since 2012, when we first visited Ireland, was to go back, maybe and do a mission trip there. Well, funny enough, the year before they had done one out of Greystone to Ireland. So I reached out and said, hey, we'd love to do one. And she said, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. So I was like, well, rats. So she said, but
just so everybody knows, Greystone is one of our church's campuses.
Yes,
because we go to church together.
Highlands. So I reached out to them, and she goes, but I might have a connection for you to a church in Ireland. And I was like, that's great. So she reaches back out and says, hey, there's a pastor who is affiliated with our church through ARC, so our church planting Association of Related Churches. He's associated with that, and would love to connect with you. So we connected through email. Lo and behold, he was like, well, I'm actually going to be at that campus, at that ARC building in 2 weeks. Would you want to meet? And we were like, absolutely. So we promised him food. So we had breakfast and sat down. Now, mind you, he was a campus pastor of his church in Ireland, and he was 25 years old at the time, and married and had 3 kids. And but the wisdom and the love for his country was just evident. And we sat there really mouths open to hear the state of Christianity in Ireland. So less than 1% evangelical Christian. And it really did break our hearts. And when we left, he was moved. I literally cried all the way home. I knew there was something here. And so he was like, you'll never know what it is unless you come. So we're like, we're coming. This was January of 2020, which everybody knows that was the year of not so great. And so we actually went home to start to buy our tickets. And of course,
everything shut down.
The whole world shut down. And unfortunately, Ireland shut down for 2 years. So we just stayed in contact through Zoom. We just stayed in contact with Pastor Sam and just developed that relationship. So as soon as the doors opened to Ireland, we went back. So in 2022, out of our own pocket, we just saved up our money, went over there and just spent time, with them on the ground, which was amazing. It was very organic. We didn't really have anything planned. We just went, they're set up, tear down. So we helped them. We spent time in people's homes. We, ate dinner with them, getting to know the worship leader and the kids pastor. And we actually stayed with a family that was their Brazilian missionaries.
Never met them before.
Never seen them before. Never had a conversation. Just happened to be where they put us at that time. But we made such good connections and friends that we were like, all right, Lord, we know you have something for us here, but what does that look like? And so we kind of left, not really knowing the what, but the who. So
one of the things we talk about as far as our mission strategy is like that kairos, that real move of God in a region, right? And while we were there in their actual staff meeting on Monday, we were going around the room praying and everything, and it got past me to this girl that was behind me. Her name's Anna Francie. I didn't know her name at the time and certainly couldn't understand through that thick Belfast accent. She starts praying, and I feel the Holy Spirit just drop on me in that moment, like it was when I got saved the first time. I mean, just such a, and you hear about the Holy Spirit knocking people on the floor. It literally felt like the Super Bowl winning coach when he got the Gatorade dumped all over him, that kind of thing. So in that moment, we just knew, like, okay, we're in the right place, doing what we need to be doing, but we don't know what that is yet. So that's when we came home.
Yeah. So we came home in 22 and just stayed in contact and, hey, well, how can we help? What can we do? What does this need to look like? And then within less than 6 months, they call us back just for an update. And they were like, so would you guys want to come over and help launch a church next year? And we were like, we didn't ask the Lord. We didn't ask each other. We immediately were just like, yes, absolutely.
Didn't even check up.
And we just knew. I mean, we knew. We were like, absolutely, we're there. What do we need to do? When do we need to be there? And so once again, saved up our money, bought plane tickets, and in 2023 we went to Dundalk, Ireland, which is right on the same side as Dublin, but right on the Northern Ireland border. And we helped launch their third campus of Lighthouse. And Lighthouse is the first multi-campus church to ever exist in Ireland.
Ever.
And they're the first mega church to ever. And when I say mega, not Highlands like what we think, but if they have 200 people at a service, that's huge. Yeah. Most churches, you might have 25 if you have any.
Yeah.
And so that was, for them to be growing like they are was just a huge thing for them. So so we went in and spent a month with them in Dundalk and helped them plant the church. And it was truly, that was when the mission kind of started to come together. So
I'm an engineer and a bass player, musician. So I can get some things done. She's just gifted at whatever, and we don't like her for that. But while we were there, that engineering and project management background, plus all of the different areas in church that Nikki and I have led or been a part of, teams we served on, we saw the needs. And because it's far different from over here, where somebody graduates from Highland College and they want to be a pastor, and then they go through the ARC process and they raise money, and then they here comes $100,000. Over there, when we helped launch that church, there was 20 of us total. And so it was Nikki and I and Nikki Thomas, which I'm sure you know Nikki Thomas from Highlands College. So basically they joked it was Joel and the two Nikkis, right? And just got to see and understand a lot around what those needs were. And so we get back and we're talking to some people, and they're like, Joel, you and Nikki really need to start a 501c3. And so that's kind of where that started. And even that was a God story, because if we all know how long it takes to start a 501c3, I mean, you're looking at a year and a half process at least. Ours was done in 6 weeks. It's like God the whole time has been like, if you're waiting on me, you're backing up. And I feel we both kind of feel like we've just been chasing God and what he has for this, and really just stepping out in that obedience.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, it's not even, you don't always see you're chasing in the moment, but you just get a little bit down the road and you look back and you're like, wow, like what all God has really done in such a short amount of time. So it's amazing.
Yeah. That's what I love about your story, is that I think for a lot of people, when they, we obviously in this podcast, we target people of about 50 plus and, kind of that second stage of life and all the things you guys are talking about, and really trying to encourage people that God is not done with you and there's more for you and there's calling, and you shouldn't be, you shouldn't be going down. You should be going up. Things should be getting better and dreaming about what's possible. And I think a lot of times people love the sound of that and they think, okay, that's great. They might even have an idea, or God might be birthing something. But I think where a lot of people get stuck, and I've seen this over the years in my coaching stuff as well, is that they just don't know where to get started. They don't know how to get started. We often say in our coaching business that it's, the old saying is you can't see the forest for the trees. We often will say you can't see the trees for the forest, meaning that you've got this big vision, but you don't know how to start or where to go into the woods. There's so many options that people get kind of overwhelmed. And what I love about your story is, and we tell people this all the time, it's like, just start, just do something. You didn't have it all figured out. You probably would say you still don't have it all figured out. It's unfolding as you go. But that's the beauty of it, is you don't have to be an expert at a thing. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have every single thing checked off up front. You want to do your due diligence. You want to be responsible. You want to make a good decision. That's all fine. Count the cost, all the things that Scripture tells us. But just like Abraham, when God called him out to leave and take his family, and like, I'll show you where to go, but you first have to start walking. And that's really the thing for people is, hey, whatever the thing you feel drawn to, just take a step towards it, take a step into it. And then just like you guys said, God just began to unveil a new thing and then reveal this. And then you meet somebody, and then next thing you know, you're over there. And so I love that, because that's very real. That's very organic. And that is often how God moves in these kind of things. It's just like, hey, just take that next step. Just take the next step, take the next step. Don't worry about 10 steps away or 100 steps away. Just take the next step and be obedient. And I think that I really believe that really will encourage a lot of people to say, hey, this thing I've been thinking about, this thing I feel like God's put in me, and I'm kind of scared of it or intimidated by it or I don't know what to do. These guys did it. Mark did it. These other folks did, whatever their thing is. If they can do it, I can do it. And that's absolutely true. Just to take that next step. So let me ask you guys this, as you've gone through that process, when it began, and I think I know the answer because from what you were just saying in your story, but you felt God leading, you felt a door opening. Was it an easy decision to just do it, or were you scared? Were you worried? Were there doubts? What was the kind of human side of that you had to kind of work through in that initial process?
I'm going to say all of that, really.
Okay.
It's such an unknown. I mean, for me personally, we both come from different spiritual backgrounds, with different styles of church, if you will, and didn't necessarily have this experience, even though we've gotten to see now that we can look back and see where God was training us for this.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there was some of that fear, and there's some of that, you know that you don't have it. And somebody said to me one time, as I was having a moment, if you will, I don't have this background. And he goes, well, it means I don't have to unteach bad habits. And he said, Joel, innovation never came from somebody in the box. And that right there is one of the most freeing things I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, okay, let's just go. And as God shows us things, we've stepped out, and we built Revive very similarly to the way Highlands does, is, if there is a need, fill it. So as the Revive team has grown, we've taken, partner trips and, missions trips at this point, and like team vision trips. And we had that actually happen. And I think you want to talk about a little bit about that, and then just being obedient and letting people, step into their calling as part of Revive.
Well, yeah. And before I say that, I'll say this, that I think he had, and this is not a negative towards him by any means, but I think he had more trepidation than I did. I think because I had those dreams, I saw it, I was ready to, as Pastor Chris says, go bear hunting with a switch. I was ready. I would have sold everything we owned and went. That was, but we obviously didn't need to do that. So it was a good thing that he was a little more hey, we have to retire one day. I have to have a job. We have to pay the light bill, And so there was definitely a good balance between us, because I kind of pulled him, but he kind of slowed me down not to get, my cart before my horse. So it was a beautiful balance, because neither one of us, it would have worked, so, but yeah, the other thing is being able to, so here's the thing: when people step out into their calling, or they're afraid to, obviously our thing is we want to encourage them, and but we also don't want people to come along and just fit into our puzzle, just trying to make a piece fit. And so, yes, I think like what you said, sometimes it just takes an act of obedience, even if it maybe isn't quite your thing, but just stepping in a direction to see what God opens a door. And so we have a perfect example. So our best friends, Heather and Dave McKinnish, who are now on our team, but at the beginning, they were like, I don't really think we fit into this puzzle. And I was like, and that's okay.
And they were resistant.
Yeah, they were a little resistant, but the first thing they did was they gave financially to Revive. They're like, we've got you. We're going to give. We love you. We're like, great. If that's all you ever do, that's amazing. And then there was a point in time in their relationship with Revive, they were like, I don't think we're going to be doing anything. And we're like, once again, no problem. Love you. Great. Just, keep praying for us. And then all of a sudden they decided they wanted a little closer look to what we were doing. And they went with us to Ireland this past year. Yeah. And it was funny as somebody dropped out last minute. So they were like, well, it's those two, let's just go. We want to see it anyway, so we can go. And so, so they're actually over Freedom at the River Chase campus of Highlands. So they run that whole program over there. So that's really their heart. So they go and they do this whole trip. And at the very end of the trip, if you know Heather McKinnish, she's 4'10", and she's a little ball of fire. She stands up in the middle of our bus. She turns around and she says, these people need freedom. She said, we're bringing it to Ireland. We're bringing it.
Oh, and they also said, and these people need some help with conferences.
Yeah. Yes.
So we're going to do the conference too. So right there, it birthed the Revive Conference and Freedom team. But
it's not something that we even thought about, honestly. Yes, that fits in our wheelhouse because that definitely empowers pastors and leaders. If they have that curriculum, they're able to walk through it and then walk their people through it. But it's, it's not something that we thought, because, our thing is we don't want people to ever step in and do something that they're not called to do. While yes, sometimes it requires sending emails and answering phones and doing some things that it's not necessarily in your wheelhouse. I do it every day. But as a general rule, we want people to come along and go, I see a need. I have a skill. I want to help. And we're like, great. So because of that, from May of last year till this week, we have had a freedom group with Ireland, with the high level leaders. We have brought them over fully funded by a donor. We were able to keep them in our homes, go through the conference, train them, actually had somebody donate their studio and time to record all re-record it all in their context, send it back, and actually the finished editing I think is today, and that they're going to be able to launch freedom groups in Ireland in 2026. So all because one person just happened to catch a vision, and we just provided a space, because we really honestly didn't do anything other than just providing a space and connection for somebody to step into that. And so, and with that, we had 4 more people from the team from Freedom around Highlands join that team just because of that. So it's just making a space for people to be able to, hey, it works for me. I want to use my calling in this way. And if we're like through the filter, like he talked about, if it empowers your pastors, go with it. We'll help you see that calling come to fruition. That's kind of our goal. So
it was a very short approval process, right? Yeah. It hit that filter. Of course we had a little bit of context, and for them to be able to do all of that and re-record that in their context and also shorten it to 6 weeks. This is now way more portable. So freedom's coming to Ireland and to Europe because of their yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love, that's right. Well, and that's what's amazing about it is I think when people are drawn to vision, so, when they get around you guys and you guys have vision for this, and it isn't for everybody, but it is for some people. And God has a way of just working, again, their journey was a little different than yours. They were kind of not sure if it was even for them. And then one thing led to another, and the door opened. And I love that story too, because I want to make sure we convey to people, all of us aren't called to go start a big thing. Like some of us have that on our resume, or some of us are doing those kind of things, and that's great. And there are definitely those people. But when we talk about calling or purpose, or God has something for you to do, sometimes it's to serve someone else's vision or to serve someone else's ministry, or go work at someone else's business that's kingdom minded, or whatever the thing is. So I like that, because I want to make sure people realize, hey, we're not talking. Everybody doesn't have to be a founder. Everybody doesn't have to start something. Everybody doesn't have to build this big thing or this big global thing or big company or big ministry or whatever. It can very much be just being obedient to your passion, just like your friends who they have some very specific giftings. God found a way to use that, inside of your thing. And sometimes that's how it starts. And so I love that story. Let me ask you guys this. And I didn't know you before Revive Ireland. In fact, we met. I should have said this at the beginning of the interview, but the way we met was my wife and I, Jenda, were taking a group of Highlands College kids. I just happened to be wearing the shirt today. That wasn't on purpose, but we were taking a group of college students to this same church, Lighthouse in Ireland, in Navan. Am I saying that right? Is that the name of the little town?
Navan.
And it was one of their church plants.
Navan.
Right. And Nikki Thomas, that you mentioned earlier, was actually on my team when I worked at the college. She was the first person I hired, actually. And she's been a good friend for a long time. She was part of your thing and going over there and all this stuff. So all this kind of came together. And then she introduced us to you because of your interest in Ireland and working with the same church, even though our mission trip was not under you guys, but it was definitely tied together. And so it was really cool. So anyway, all that to say, I didn't know you guys before Ireland. I don't know what you were like or what you were doing, but how would you say you're different now? I guess 3, 4, 5 years into this, as far as like your passion level, your excitement, how you get out of bed in the morning, how you like, because I believe when people find their thing, whatever it is, it's a game changer for excitement and energy and passion and enthusiasm. And I love, in my coaching side, I love to do that because I just love to see that light bulb come on for people. I love to see them go, I found my thing, and man, they get so excited and everything just changes. How did that happen for you guys? How are you different now than you were maybe before this happened for you?
Gosh, do you want to go first, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I had a moment at the Freedom Conference. So when we had that team there, and I was in an intercessor on the back row of that campus, and my team that we brought over were sitting several rows in front of me, and I could see all their little heads. And as I was sitting there, that first session, we were sitting and listening to the speaker, and it was like a verse just hit me like a Mack truck. And it was like in the best way. And it's John 10:10, the enemy came to steal, kill, and destroy, but I came to give you life and life to the full. And honestly, I've had a good life. I mean, definitely had some ups and downs, in my relationship with the Lord. And then even in our relationship in 20 years, things aren't always easy. But all in all, I've had a good life, but I have never, even my years of serving, even at Highlands, I had brought joy, but I don't know that I've ever felt that living life to the full in my spirit until that moment. And it was like the Lord really she was like, this is your life to the full. Like it's not my circumstances, but I am truly, and who knows what God has for me for the next, 30 years. But I know that at this moment, I am living life to the full. I cannot imagine doing anything else every day. It's like PC says, it's wherever you want to buy your burial plot. Like that's where I want to. That's
in Ireland.
Mine's in Ireland. And so but I know my heart is there. And I have, and of course you know us, but anybody who knows us, like we're the Ireland people, we're the Europe people. Like we have such a desire to see, we don't even need to wear a t-shirt really, but it's like, honestly, it is my greatest joy. I love being a wife. I love being a mom and a grandmom, but seeing those people know Jesus brings me more joy than everything else combined. And so living that life to the full, I can't imagine not waking. I wake up with that in the morning. I think it's very much like having children for everybody who's had kids. your number one goal in life when you have kids, really for them, is that they know Jesus and they have a successful life. That's your whole goal for your children. Well, that's how I think about the people in Ireland. I wake up every day. It's one of the first things on my heart is how can I help them to know Jesus today? And that's how I go to bed. And it really is life to the full.
Yeah. And it's also that, if you lay down your life, you'll find it, that scripture as well. And for me, I'm both left and right brained. So there's the analytical side and the creative side. So God has used that, and there's been an explosion of vision. Like I asked for extreme vision, and I'm telling you, the Lord said, hold my wine, and blew me out of my chair. He showed me Revive, but what he showed me in the beginning was Revive Global. It wasn't just Revive Ireland. That one kind of scared me, right? If it's not, the vision's not big enough if it doesn't scare you and you can do it by yourself.
That's right.
Everybody has a seat on this bus, and according to whatever that calling is. And then he also showed me something else we're piloting on this trip. We're going to help launch this church in March, something called Rapid Launch. So we're kind of piloting the people side of that. How can we help them get off the ground as fast as possible and get about what they're there to do? That's what Rapid Launch is going to be a part of Revive Global. Is there to do. And he also showed me a software company, which that terrified me, but I don't want to get into that one. That's a later vision, a later thing. But yeah, reliance and dependence on him have increased. And with that and stepping into that, so has the joy, right? Mm-hmm. And all of the people we've been connected with, we literally have family around the globe, whether it be through, we have that pastor disease too, with the 3 Ps, prayer, people, and provision. And that's what we do is we have a global prayer group now, and it's probably got 60 people in it, that from Ireland, UK, Latvia, and all the way in Tel Aviv, Israel as well. Yeah, and then we have a lot of people in the US too. And then, we send internships over there. We do mission trips, and then helping provide on the practical side as well. This is what it has been a lot of the fun in helping build the team and God just sending us the right people at the right time. I mean, even as late as, a couple of weeks ago, looks like we're going to have an outreach team, a global outreach team. So that's just what God has been doing. And it has been so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool to hear. Cause one thing we say a lot on here is that God is attracted to risk. And what I mean by that is that, he's looking for people to step out and do something that needs to get done. And from our viewpoint, that often looks risky. It feels scary. It feels like whatever. But like you said, Joel, it's all about him showing up. And if it doesn't require him to show up, it's not big enough. It's probably not really from him, because he doesn't want to just send us to do something. He wants to partner with us to do something. And so I love that you said that. And Nikki, it's so funny. I was actually going to say this, and you kind of beat me to the punch, but you guys are known as the Ireland people, and that's a good thing. It is, because it is your passion, because it is what God has put on your heart. It comes out. It's you have ownership over that, and it's really encouraging and exciting to know how focused you guys are on that, and how committed you are to that process, and like Joel was just saying, there's always a next step and a next vision and the next ministry and new things that God's given you guys. So it's really fun to see. And again, that's why I wanted you guys to come on here, because I really want people to see, hey, here's 2 great people following Christ, trying to do the best they can, doing their thing. But you were open to, is there more? Does God have something else for us? He spoke to you, you answered, you took the step of faith, you've been obedient, and God has just multiplied your effort and multiplied your faithfulness to where now it's not just you and your ministry and affecting the people in Ireland, but now you've got other people around you giving to it, going on trips, supporting it, praying for it. I mean, it's incredible to see what God will do when we just say yes. When we just say, yes, I'll do whatever it is, whatever the thing is you're asking me to do, I'll do it, and I'll just trust you with the rest of it. And that's really, really inspiring and really, really awesome to see that. Let me ask you guys this as we're kind of moving toward the end. What would you say you've learned in this stage of life about God and how he operates and who he is that maybe you didn't know before because of this journey? What are some new things you've learned about him?
Oh man. So much. One of the things that I heard this many years back, if you step out, God will show up. Right. And it even says in scripture where, he's not impressed with sacrifice. He likes obedience. And that thing, even when you don't know and you don't know what you're doing or what that next step is going to look like, that's when he steps in, because it's all about him. And that's the thing I'm finding out, that is, if I'll just step out, he'll step in, and it's all for our good, or in this case, Ireland's good, and his glory. To God be the glory. That's something you hear a lot and think people say, but it's absolutely the truth. And it's an honor and a blessing to be part of this, just in general, because we know who we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And we're just like everybody else. Your time's not done. You're not spent up. You're not, God's got so much more for you. If you'll just let him, if you'll just come to the table and meet him, he'll show you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think with us too, it's cool to look back. When we first, because we never, we grew up, like you said, he didn't really have an church experience growing up. He wasn't plugged in. I was plugged in, but it was a totally different style of church. There wasn't a whole lot of serving dream team type opportunities. You just kind of came and sat on a pew unless you sang. So wasn't super involved. But when we got involved with Highlands, it was you could see God just baby step us. And so us leading a small group for the first time in 2015, that was huge. That was the pinnacle of life, and I could never imagine that was kind of the end all be all. But you see God, we talked about ankle deep, and then knee deep. And, and then I ended up we both actually graduated from pastoral care school, and I started teaching there. And I thought maybe this might be what I do for the rest of my life. This is amazing that, where God's brought us to. And then he was like, no, just preparing you for the next season. And then all of a sudden you look back, and in 2026, we're basically non-resident missionaries. We're leading teams over there. And I'm we went from ankle deep to way, way over our heads,
Yeah.
But what I'll say about that is that if you had told me at ankle deep that I would have been in over my head, it would have been very paralyzing. But I look back now and see how gracious God was to teach us and to grow us and to build our confidence. And then now we're truly in way over our heads. But saying that, it's the best place to be, because I do not rely on myself. I know that I'm totally incapable of doing what he's called us to do. So it makes me so much more reliant on the Lord. And honestly, I love that, and then the other thing I would say is that for people who are stepping into this is that I've learned is to always expect resistance. That resistance isn't a bad thing. That honestly, to me, it's almost like saying, yep, I'm going the right way. So we tell our teams before they go out on mission trips, expect it. Expect attack, expect resistance. But I'll tell you this, we know who wins, and expect also exceedingly abundantly at the end of the day, because that's how God operates. And so those are probably two of the areas as we've walked through ministry that I've seen and have my faith grown in that. So
I tell you, just being as a spouse, as a husband, I said one of the things that's been the most fun for me in this whole thing is just watching her leadership level explode and just go up, and just watching people kind of flock to her as well, and just getting to see that growth and appreciate it. And there's been several times, and of course, our relationship, as we've both grown in the Lord, we've kind of done this, and then it's like you're reaching down and helping the other one grow. That has just been an amazing experience for us in our marriage, just to get to see that and celebrate, what God's doing in the other one.
Yeah. That's so cool. And I love your story there, Nikki, from Ezekiel about wading into the river. And when you think about being over your head, what I love about that is, to me, that picture is, it's ankle deep, knee deep, waist deep, etc. Once you get to that point, really, you're just flowing with the river. It's like laying back, like a lazy river and just going with it, And I think that's it's such a beautiful picture of it. It is over your head, and that's why you just have to lay back and let the Holy Spirit and the current of that river just take you where you're going to go, and not fight it, and not struggle, but just go with that plan that God has for you. And again, this is so encouraging, because I just want people to see another example of people who've just said, hey, yes, I'll do the small thing, the next step, the whatever it is. And I love how you went back to even the small group thing. Like, you couldn't have even imagined doing this then. You were just taking a step to do the small group, and just how God has,
we would have laughed at you had you told us that. Yeah.
And you would have been probably terrified, and thankfully he doesn't reveal those things to us until we're ready. And that's typically what happens.
Yes.
But I love the progression, how you can look back and see those opportunities that God was giving you, one, just preparing you, and get a little training and do a little thing here and go here and and then next thing you know, you guys are leading this thing. And just as someone kind of on the front row, and someone who had the privilege of going on a trip kind of parallel to y'all's ministry and being part of that church over there. And what's the Brazilian guy's name? I can see him, but I can't think of his name. Who you stayed with?
Junior.
Right. Junior. Yeah. He was one of our hosts when we were over there. So I've got a lot of memories of him that are really funny, but yeah, having that front row seat and watching what God's doing with you guys, and even what you're sharing today, like some of that we hadn't talked about that lately. So I didn't even know that stuff was happening. So that's super, super exciting. Well, I appreciate you guys. I'd love to, just put in the show notes how people can get a hold of you and learn more about your ministry. So what's the best way for them to kind of get in contact if they want to know more or get involved or support you financially, whatever that looks like?
Yeah, several things. The easiest is to go to www.reviveireland.org. And you get a lot of information there. There's ways to give, ways to contact us. We're also on social media as well. So Facebook, Instagram, and we're actually on LinkedIn as well. So pretty easy to connect with us those ways.
Yeah, and they can email through the website as well. And then we'd love for people to join the prayer team. Yes, what's such a great entry level. What the cool thing about our prayer team, just real quickly, is that because we're praying, it's not just a Revive prayer team. It's a global missions prayer team. So like we say, we're covering people in Israel, but it's a great way to be able to come alongside these pastors and people all over the world to see how they do ministry and what that looks like in their prayer needs. And we have been able to pray for some just beautiful miracles that we saw last year. We saw a 4-year-old, was a pastor in England, 4-year-old daughter diagnosed with leukemia, did not think she was going to make it. And now she's fully healed. Like it's such an honor to be able to do that. We've had times of prayer and fasting for her. Like everybody that's joined the prayer team was like, it exceeded their expectations. And honestly, it's exceeded ours. So love for people to join the prayer team. Love for people, obviously, to join us on mission trips. We need people for those kind of things. And of course, partnering with us financially, we have the 99+1 project, which is a brand new project we've just launched, where when you give to that monthly, that money all goes into the pockets of pastors over there to help keep them in the game, to help pay light bill and rent or buy things for the church that they need. So, and then you can watch, you get to be a part of their story by keeping up with those pastors that you help. So those are all on the website, and they can reach out and get more information. So.
Okay. That's awesome. Well, we'll definitely put that on there. And I really want to encourage people to, if they feel drawn to you guys, drawn to this ministry, drawn to the vision, I hope that they'll reach out, because I can speak for you on your behalf. These guys, they're doing it right. They're doing it the real way with integrity and honoring God and honoring these people. And I hope some people get a lot out of this today. So, and I know they will. They'll be encouraged by your story at the very minimum. So I appreciate you guys. It's so good to catch up, and I'll probably see you Sunday.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm just glad the podcast is doing so well.
Yes.
Yeah. If I can ever help you in any way, let me know, Mark.
Appreciate you guys. I hope you got as much out of that as I did. I mean, that was everything I wanted it to be and more, because of their very real very authentic, very organic story of how they just followed God, were obedient with the little steps, and he's just continued to multiply and bring people together around it and bring resources and grow it. And now they've got even bigger vision and new things that God's putting in their heart. And just like the first thing, they don't know how they're going to do it. They don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but they know enough to know that God is faithful to show up and that they do have purpose. They do have calling, just like you do. And he's going to do a great thing through this ministry. So like we said at the end of the episode, all their contact info is in the show notes. You can basically go to their website and find out whatever you need to know at reviveireland.org. And just know it's an incredible ministry. I believe in it. We participated with it. We give to it. And they are doing great, great things. And you can feel really good about joining up with them or learning from them or talking to them about your thing, whatever that is. So make sure you reach out to Joel and Nikki. If there's anything we can do to help support you from our side, let us know that as well. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow on whatever channel, whatever platform you're consuming this on. It means a lot to us, helps it get in front of more people. And make sure you comment as well. We'd love to know what you're thinking, what you like, don't like, what you'd like to see more of, topics we can get into. And we want to make this for you. It's not for me, it's for you guys. So we want to make sure you're getting everything that you need. We've got some amazing episodes coming up. Benji Kelly, a pastor friend of mine who's planted a new church. And Benji and I are about the same age, in our 50s, and he started this new church, this new ministry, and it's incredible what's going on there. They just launched a few weeks ago. We've got Richard Mobley coming up and some other special guests that I'm really excited. Not only just guests, but some topics we're going to get into. One of those is actually around addiction and what that looks like at our age, whether it's something we're dealing with at our age or we're dealing with it in our family or with a friend. Almost all of us know somebody who's going through addiction. And we think this is a really powerful topic that we're going to get into and learn how to process, deal with it, give you some good tips and things to work in that space if you're dealing with somebody like that. So that's going to be powerful. Make sure you can come back next Tuesday. We'll see you then for the Age of Lions. Have a great week.